So I sent him to give a couple pumps for good old Coach Steve.
I think every time we just review one blood work, although this time I put two, but we'll review one just maybe it could every time we could teach one thing or learn something new. So you guys are in my way here. So
why do you select all the super tall guys? Everybody's like over 6 foot. I feel discriminated
I'm a
because
height.
Boston is on the show, right?
Yeah, because I don't want Boston to feel alone because I'm 5'10" and you're around my height also. So
I'm 5'9".
we have to give, yeah. So this guy says, he says a bit about his TRT. He's 250 pounds, 6'4", and that's all. Now, this is the interesting thing though. I always try to find somebody's blood work that's a little bit interesting. So his LDL cholesterol, just around the perfect area. Beautiful. I mean, this guy has a protective polymorphism in his genes that is making this happen. It's an LDL receptor, it's something, unless he's vegan or doesn't eat saturated fats or eggs. So this is a really good sign. Your triglycerides are a little bit high. Probably indicates you have a small amount of insulin sensitivity or you have a little bit of visceral fat, something like that. But
Or
look at that
non-alcoholic
TS.
fatty liver or inactivity or carnitine deficiency.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, but then come look at this TSH. So what is TSH?
Oh,
TSH,
wow.
just like FSH. Every time I talk about FSH, I inject FSH every other day. What is FSH? FSH is the signal to your gonads to grow. TSH is the signal to your thyroid to grow. This is what Palumbo left for a long time. This is how his thyroid grew. And that's what scared me personally so much about thyroid cancer. So this is not very high. This is called subclinical hypothyroidism. So many doctors will not replace it. But you want to know why this is there. It could be that you've damaged your pituitary. It could be something temporary through, sometimes TSH goes up for various reasons. But if this stays like this, or if it's been like this on your blood work for a while, keep in mind thyroid cancer incidence is on the rise around the world, and we're all at risk a little bit.
It's time to do an ultrasound on his thyroid gland and see what's going on. And of course, do a full metabolic panel with the free T4, free T3 total and reverse, right? And then there's another iodine uptake, I believe.
Yeah. I mean,
so that you just get the full thing done.
it's not
And if
so
that,
high that you would think. It's not like you see people with 10 and 15 all the time, but it's not so high. It just depends how long it's been like that, and how he's only 25 years old, so maybe doesn't
yeah,
need an
still
ultrasound.
you don't want to leave it unaddressed, for a long period of time.
You would get
Oh,
peace of mind to do an ultrasound, see if you have nodules, and then figure out, look at your old blood tests, see if this declines on its own. Sometimes it does. If it doesn't, like Steve is saying, you have to take it seriously. So look at this. Was the other thing I noticed about his blood work. I forgot what this is called. It's like red blood cell diameter distribution width. Yeah.
It's the difference between the size of the red blood cells. So if they should all be uniform, same size with the same hemoglobin content, and then as micronutrient deficiencies occur, you see that some red blood cells get bigger and some get larger. So the differential is bigger. So now he's at 16.4%. So that indicates either an iron, vitamin B9, or vitamin B12 deficiency.
So so red. So it does it. Steve is right. It shows the diameter. So basically, you could have, if you had the range probably is around. Oh, it's written there. It's around 11 to 15. If you have something around 11, it indicates that your red blood cells are more homogeneous. They're similar size.
Right.
This is a shocking biomarker that's been really explored a lot in the last 10 years. It is it's interesting because it's an independent risk factor for mortality and for heart disease, and it cannot be controlled. Even if you use a regression analysis in those studies and you control C-reactive protein, micronutrient deficiencies. I'm not sure about micronutrient as much, but inflammation, so many things do not control for it. It's an independent risk factor, and we don't totally know why. Now, scientists hypothesize that, for example, if you have problems in erythropoiesis, you can start to, your red blood cells won't be produced as equally. And they also think that inflammation, cytokines could damage some of the red blood cells, but it's not so clear. And also, by the way, Steve, anemia sometimes, even if you control for anemia, only one case of anemia will be associated with it. A lot of the others aren't. Now, this is the shocking thing, though. I don't remember the numbers exactly, but if you go from 12 and above, every 1% increase here is associated with a dramatic increase in mortality, something I think over 10% more likely. So this is extremely concerning. this guy
Mm.
has something really wrong going on, and we don't know what it is exactly. This is a very high number. Makes you
So
much more likely to die of a heart attack.
I think most of the cases that I've seen the red cell distribution with goes up with more frequent blood donations. So that's why it always
Yeah,
leads me to believe iron deficiency, because you lose so much iron through through a blood donation, and then vitamin B9 and B12 are easily supplemented. A lot of people in the Western world are not deficient in B vitamins. So you see that with more frequent donation. Well, his testosterone is high, so he's probably keeping his hematocrit under control with
good point.
donations, and
Good point.
then the iron gets lower and lower and lower,
Good
and
point.
then
If it
the
is
red cell
actually he's over
distribution
donating,
with
you're right. Yeah, yeah,
over donation,
yeah.
exactly, yeah.
If he's
And he
over
would
donating,
also
then that's different. Yeah.
you could also check. There's a specified test which is called the red cell morphology,
Mm.
and because they can come in like a million different sizes. So some you have like sickle cell anemia is like the red cells are such poorly shaped that they can't be absorbed, and that affects the red cell distribution with also because the shapes are so off. So
Also, look
there's a
at this
lot of
beautiful
things.
creatinine and EGFR.
Yeah, that's good.
I would be jealous at 250 to have that creatinine. It's great.
Well, he's
Yeah,
25, right? So maybe
look at
12
me.
years from now, when he's dabbling with more
He's
stuff, is creatine. So the job here is to keep it like this.
exactly. Yeah. Well, except for that, I mean, hopefully he's over donating, and that could explain it. But because he doesn't
Yeah.
have anything else, for the audience to know, this is prostate specific antigen. This is one
Mhm.
of the cancer markers. They often show it to you if you're a man. They don't test the other ones for you. CEA, CA 19.9. There's several other ones.
Yeah. Mhm.
Just for your information. And estradiol is sort of the perfect area for sex drive, but maybe potentially not everything else. So he has
Well,
great. Everything else is
good.
great except for that triglyceride slightly, the TSH, and
And
then
his HDL.
well, his HDL. I mean, his LDL is so low, that it's. I'm not so
I
scared.
think I think he can just get a freebie by letting his estrogen come up a little bit more, and then his HDL should come up also. But then again, concurrently his sexual binding globulin might come up. So maybe
Steve
a
is
little bit of fish.
obsessed with sex hormone binding globulin. I didn't know so much about it until I became friends with Steve, and I just keep learning more and more about sex hormone binding globulin all
Oh,
the
but
time.
you have all this this stuff that say that sexual binding globulin is the devil, right? And that it binds up all your tests and all the androgens that you don't get to the androgen receptor. You know how many sex drive consultations I have every week?
Yeah, yeah. Sex
And
drive.
they're
You get a
sex.
lot of consultation on sex drive.
Oh,
Really?
unbelievable!
Me
I
too.
feel bad for. Yeah, I know. Both of us.
Yeah,
Both of
interesting.
us like it. Post finasteride syndrome and all that stuff. They come to you and me, right?
Yeah.
So I see so much sex drive issues, and in a lot of cases, the sexual binding globulin is just crushed to 10 nanomoles per liter or less. And then that's why I made a whole video about it, because not everybody can afford us.
Mm,
Just how to increase your sexual binding globulin. And then you see the messages a month later. I said,
mm,
dude, you saved my sex life. All right.
mm.
So I sent him, said, give a couple pumps for good old Coach Steve.
Couple-